Welcome to Democracy-ish. I am Danielle Moody, and I am getting a Ramadan education every time that before Wash and I come on air. I got questions because I just want to learn, and I love learning.
And she's like, "So, when do you stop eating and drinking?" And
When do
then
you start?
when do you start? And then I gave her the answer, and then Danielle just looked like her
Ooh.
her head just went,
Mm.
eh. So no water, no water. But it's okay. It's fine. These are the easy ones, Danielle. A couple of years ago, it was like 8 p.m. Now it's like 5:52 p.m. and it's kind of cold and chilling. Don't you want to try it?
There's I'm gonna tell you, there is a part of me that's like, maybe one of these years I'll say, Wash, I would like to join you and your family and try. And I don't like because I refuse to start something and not finish. So I'm like, ooh, I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I just imagine like Danielle will do it out of solidarity one day on Friday, and it'll be
One
like
day.
it'll be the hangriest Danielle we have ever met
The
in our life.
meanest. Yeah, the meanest version of myself. I mean, I
Yeah.
tried to go vegan once for a month, and that was like the worst version of
How long
me.
did you last?
A month.
Oh,
1
that's not
month.
bad.
And I was just like, but I was not nice. I'm surprised I had friends after.
All your family members and friends are like, "Danielle, we need you to eat meat to be a
Yeah,
nice
just threw
person.
a
Just go
steak
eat a
at me.
cow right now."
Exactly, from start to finish. So friends, we we start out today. We start out today with I don't know. Is it good news? I guess. It's hard to decide what is good news and what is not good news these days. But we start out today with the breaking news that the Supreme Court strikes down Trump's tariffs in a major setback for the president. And this is coming from USA Today.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court dealt a major blow to Donald Trump's economic agenda, ruling that he does not have the authority to impose sweeping tariffs at the stroke of a pen.
Mm.
The court on February 20th tossed the tariffs that are the centerpiece of his horrible economic policy plan, but whatever, and major foreign policy tool. But that have also raised costs for consumers and businesses. The 6-3 decision from the conservative court was its first major ruling against Trump's controversial, expansive view of presidential powers. So, Waj, and I just want to read this and then I want to get your thoughts because this
Sure.
was coming from Roberts, who wrote who wrote the decision here, and he said this quote: the president asserts the extraordinary power to unilaterally impose tariffs of unlimited amount, duration, and scope. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote, in light of the breadth, history, and constitutional context of that asserted authority, he must identify clear congressional authorization to exercise it. And they go on to say that Democrats welcome this decision and welcome this decision, striking it down. What do you make of this Supreme Court decision? Because apparently, just FYI, Donald Trump has secured about $136 billion from these tariffs. And the Supreme Court gave no direction as to where that money now goes. Does it go back to the American people who were paying an additional consumer tax? Does it go back to the countries that he was trying to extort? Like, we have no idea because, once again, they give these half-assed, in my humble opinion, decisions. What do you make of it?
Well, the 6-3, and I was waiting to see the 3, and of course, Thomas, Alito, and interestingly enough, Kavanaugh. Furthermore, I want to just share this from 35 minutes ago. CNN's Kristen Holmes reports that Trump blew up during a meeting after learning of the SCOTUS ruling. Quote, he started ranting about the decision, not only calling it a disgrace, but started attacking the courts, and at one point saying, these effing courts, but using the actual language there. Furthermore, now
Can't
we have
wait for the State of the Union.
it's,
Can't wait.
and then he's going to do something. Okay, so there's a lot happening.
Yep.
We'll get to that in a second.
Go ahead.
Democrats now are pressing the Trump administration to issue tariff refunds because tariffs are taxes. And just a couple of weeks ago, it came out that about 90+% of those tariffs, guess who paid for them? U.S. consumers, because we And as English and liberal arts majors know that tariffs are taxes that we pay. Shockingly, Danielle, shockingly, over 90% was paid by us. And the prices of groceries and goods has what?
Mhm.
Increased. And we just found out yesterday the trade deficit, guess what? Trade deficit are still at historic highs. But the only thing that Donald Trump did with his stupid trade war and tariffs is make life harder for Americans. Things are more expensive. And guess what, folks? It made America more isolated as our allies have turned away from us and are now we're doing business with China. And China's like, oh, soybeans? Okay. You want to put these stupid tariffs on us because your dumbass president doesn't understand how a trade deficit works? Fine. We'll go buy soy from Brazil and Argentina. And guess who it screwed, Danielle? The soy farmers. So I think there's a lot happening here. What to me, if I've been paying
Mhm.
attention, the couple of times the Supreme Court, and just it's been a handful, Danielle, has
Mhm.
gone against
Mhm.
their king and daddy, it's when it comes to the economy. Notice couple of months ago, Lisa Cook, he wanted to
Right.
fire
Yep.
Black woman Lisa Cook from the Federal Reserve Board.
Mhm.
Guess who sided with the Federal Reserve?
The
The
Supreme Court.
Supreme Court. Now, these sweeping tariffs that have hurt their bottom line and
Yep.
their groomers' bottom line, guess what? The same Supreme Court that a year and a half ago said the president has absolute immunity for core functions, they gave Donald Trump the most expansive powers that we have seen. They allowed Donald Trump a get out of jail free card. Now they're saying, whoa, 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 brown cow, easy there, Donald Trump.
Yep.
On this, you can have expansive powers, right? And then furthermore, like you mentioned, Donald Trump, the State of the Union, folks, he was in Georgia yesterday in a rally, just pathetic. We'll talk about that later. Unhinged, just couldn't even stay on message. He's lying about the economy ahead of the State of the Union and the tariffs and the trade policy was going to be his signature
Yep.
BS gaslighting, and the Supreme Court now is just gonna just took the wind away from him. And I will say this: what he's gonna do at the State of the Union, knowing Trump, is he's gonna mock and ridicule the Supreme
Oh,
Court
he's going to
judges.
lambast them he's gonna light them up in
And
a
something
way.
that
Yep.
we've been saying Democrats should have been doing for 10 years, Trump is going to do, Daniel.
Yeah, he's going to light them up. They're going to sit there and he is going to call them everything but a child of God. He has, I mean, this is the thing, right? And aside from this decision, which just puts the nail in the coffin on his failed economic policy, is that Donald Trump has nothing to provide Republicans to run on in these midterm elections. If, in fact, we were to actually have free and fair elections, he has nothing to give them to run on. Absolutely nothing. The economy is in the toilet. His immigration policies or the concentration camps are in the fucking toilet. He's moved us away from our allies. No one is on our side anymore except for Israel, and that's just because they're the Oliver Twist to us and just have their hand out all the fucking time. You want to talk about the biggest welfare queens? Anyway, so it's really interesting to me that he wants to go on this like low energy tour to try and gaslight people about something that they can actually see and feel every single time that they go to the grocery store, that they go to the gas pump, that they're going to get their medications. I mean, this is something that you do not need to have a higher education economic degree to understand that your coffee is more expensive now than it was last year. That like your lumber, if you're building a home or getting any, or you're a construction worker and you're going to the store to get lumber, it's more expensive than it was a year ago. Like these are very clear cut things that you can't gaslight people into saying like, oh yeah, don't believe the receipt, believe the lies that are coming out of my mouth. So I think that, again, people, if we want to believe the bullshit that is told to us all the time, that it was economic anxiety that people hired a man that has failed and bankrupted multiple casinos to be their savior of an economy that was doing well post COVID, that he is now tanked in the last year. you can look at this and just say, this, again, we know was never about the economy. It was about racism, and it was about causing as much harm and cruelty as possible. And now he's going into the State of the Union, and all he's going to do is, I mean, bitch and moan for 90 minutes. Like, that's what this is going to be, 90 minutes of bitching and moaning. And somebody having to give him the Apollo hook to get him off of the goddamn stage.
Well, Kavanaugh, apparently, I'm reading more and more. Kavanaugh in his dissent essentially instructed him, gave him the step-by-step rules on how to avoid this ruling. So what he's going to do is he's going to gaslight us, because he's been gaslighting us for the past year. He's been saying the economy is fantastic. Yesterday in Georgia, he said, affordability, I want affordability. That's an exact quote from the president. I want affordability. What does that even mean? It doesn't matter. The man's almost 80 years old. He probably has dementia. He has cankles. He's an idiot. All of this began, Danielle, if I may, because our president is an idiot who went to UPenn. I have friends who went to UPenn Wharton School. Very good school. Very good business school. He was a moron. He does not understand.
I like that you say was.
He is a moron. He does not understand Econ 101. In his brain, he does not understand trade deficits. He has been saying since the 90s, these countries are screwing us. And we're like, what are you talking about, bro? It's like, Vietnam's our friend. No, but we give them more money and they don't give us money. Like, you don't understand how trade deficits work. We pay these countries for goods and services. These poorer countries then give us these goods and services. He's been saying it since the 90s. He is surrounded, Danielle, by reeks and yes men who know better and should just tell him, sir, respectfully, you're a moron. You don't understand how trade deficits works. Here's a cartoon of how trade deficits work. Here's a drawing of how trade deficits work. We're not getting screwed. They're actually our allies. He does not understand how tariffs work. He said yesterday, tariffs.
He doesn't understand also how allyship works. Right? Like
That's
that,
it.
like
That's
that.
relationships.
If you want to go to the right, if relationships at its core, he does not I mean, and this is a man that was married and divorced 3 times and accused of sexual assault multiple times, credibly, right now in the Epstein files. Like, this is a man that doesn't understand the fundamentals of how relationships work. You beat people over the head, you bludgeon them into giving you whatever it is that you want. That is Donald Trump's MO from birth. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, exactly. Exactly it. We live in a world that depends upon relationships. That's why we have treaties. That's why we have economic trade. It's just how human beings work at a cellular level, right? It's about quid pro quo. What can I get you? What can you get me? Let's work together. Once you start beating up your allies for no reason, who have treated you well, once you start being abusive for no reason, if your entire worldview is this perverse zero-sum game, survival of the fittest, what happens, folks? I just want to bring it all back full circle. A self-own, a murder-suicide, a self-destructive policy enacted by Donald Trump that made us poorer and more isolated. And now, even if this administration, which it never will, refunds the American public, it won't. Like, you literally go back and you're like, hey, moron, your stupid tariffs and trade wars literally did nothing but make us more miserable and more isolated. What was accomplished? Danielle. And that's the entire Trump administration. Self-destruction.
Self-destruction. That is but here's the thing, we all know that this is a smash and grab job. Do you think that the $136 billion actually exists?
No.
Right? If it's gone. Like, give me a break. And so even if Donald Trump, okay, let's just say for a moment, he had a moment of clarity and said, you know what? I'm down in the polls. Some say I'm in the 20s. Some say that I'm in the 30s. A way for me to get maybe a bump from the American people is actually to put some cash in everybody's pocket, right? As we head into these midterms. Let me figure out how to give, and I'll sign my name on them, right? Remember how he did the COVID checks? Like, I'm going to sign my name so that people get it. He won't even do the bare minimum. And it's because I don't believe that money is actually there. I believe that it's already been spent and done, and it's in the board of peace, it's in his crypto, it's, it's wherever, but it ain't available for us. But if he were even to do that, to give the American people just a little bit of an economic boost in this moment, everybody was getting, let's say, a couple $1,000s, right? In this time of great inflation and strain, it would matter. And as you know, we know that the American people, their memory is as short as a gnat. And
That's
they
right.
would say, oh, well, Trump gave us money, right? And then you would be able to talk about that, give these talking points out for the next several months as you're headed into midterms. He ain't going to do it. He ain't going to do it.
It's a really good point that it's a win. It's actually a win for him.
Yep.
The Supreme
It could
Court
be. It could be.
The Supreme Court actually helped him and said, hey, your tariffs and your signature economic policies, disaster. You're negative double digits on the economy. So just trust us on this. Stop. And then guess what? Things will be cheaper. And guess what? The midterms are coming. And then you could say things are cheaper. And then because Americans are dumb, then they could be like, oh, my eggs and my groceries a bit cheaper. Donald Trump's amazing. He won't do it.
He won't do it. Like it, and it's just, oh my God, the stupidity,
Because of the arrogance, the ego, the
yeah, the
arrogance, the
ego.
fundamental misunderstanding of economy, of human nature, of relationships. He'll find some way. And perhaps already the damage is done, Danielle, right? The damage is done, folks, in a way that even though things will probably be a bit cheaper, hopefully, if he doesn't go around these tariffs and does some other stupid stuff, our economy, as it depends upon, people coming to this country, tourism is down. Due to ICE, people aren't showing up. Due to ICE in Minnesota, you've seen what that's done to the economy. Based on relationships, our partners are moving away. Canada moved away to China. Other people moving away to Europe. We're more isolated. We're weakened. Oh yeah, measles is skyrocketing. So I believe the damage is already done. And just to put a pin on it again, all of it could have been avoided. This is what happens. This country chose Trump as its murder-suicide weapon. It's so painful.
It's so painful. It's so painful. What wasn't painful, though, this week? A little bit of good news. God, this image. If this doesn't win some type of Pulitzer, I don't know.
Amazing.
But yesterday, waking up to the news that the unthinkable happened, that the former Prince Andrew, Prince Mountbatten Windsor, was arrested and held and questioned for 11 hours. This is the photograph that was taken of him released and trying to scrunch down in the back seat of his car as he was headed back to his home that had been searched. It is just, I mean, you can't get a better image than this. I pray that Virginia Giuffre is like smiling down and saying, I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. What did you make of the news yesterday, Waj? Because I just thought, my family is from Jamaica. Jamaica was a former colony, right? As many Caribbean nations were of the UK. I grew up, my family, some of them were like royal watchers. It's, indoctrination and colonization. And, you believe that you're an extension of, right? Like that's what happens with colonization. And the conversations that were happening, though, when I turned on BBC to see how they were covering this, it was really bringing up how the monarchy survives this and whether or not, like, having conversations that I never thought, even in the 21st century, even with like a lot of nations, gaining their independence, a lot of people saying, return our stolen goods, return these artifacts, return the money that you've extracted for centuries to build your wealth and your royalty. They were having them. They were having them yesterday on BBC. And I never thought I'd see the day.
This is the first time in over 400 years a member of the royal family has been arrested. Let me repeat that. the first time in over 400 years. So if you don't follow British politics and you don't follow, the royal family, and why would you follow the royal family? This is huge. First and foremost, a couple of months ago, right before the new year, Virginia Giuffre posthumously released her memoir. She's dead, folks, because of an alleged suicide, because of the trauma that she had to face, because that she was the first young woman who actually mentioned by name publicly Prince Andrew as one of the rapists, part of the Epstein class. You've all seen the photos with Andrew's arm around a young Virginia, and then Ghislaine Maxwell in the back. Folks, guess what? Andrew and the royal family did everything in their power to humiliate, mock, ridicule, and disparage Virginia, even going so far as to say that photo was a hoax. Oh
Yep.
no,
That it
that
was fake.
photo was real.
Uh-huh.
Virginia Giuffre's book comes out a week before her memoir drops. Guess what happens? Prince Andrew, no longer prince, stripped of his titles. That was in November. That in itself was huge news. And everyone was saying, if you follow what happened in the royal family, Prince Andrew, this little pedo, was Queen Elizabeth's favorite child. She was very protective of Prince Andrew. And Charles increasingly realized, it's like, think about like the mob, is like, I love him, but he's been a liability. He's got to go. So Charles increasingly realized that this guy was trouble. So Charles kind of gave the green light to make the move. So now Andrew is not just Prince Andrew, he's Andrew. That in itself is huge. And then what we saw yesterday with the arrest, if you saw that Charles made a actual statement,
Yep.
the letter of the law must be followed.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, remarkable how Epstein, and specifically Virginia Giuffre, like Danielle said, might bring down the royal family. Roe kind of said this also, like once you find out what the royal family did, this could bring down not just the royal family, this could bring down the British government, because Keir Starmer has his back against the wall. Lord Mandelson, his UK ambassador, sacked. Criminal investigations into Lord Mandelson, because much like the investigation, and by the way, Andrew's still being investigated. He was released, still being investigated.
He was not
Yeah.
exonerated.
What are they investigating? Not the rape.
Let me go back, because we have it here. Go ahead. I
Well,
just want to put
he's
this
not
up.
being for the rape, but he is being investigated for allegedly when he was trade envoy giving sensitive information to. Have you noticed a trend? When Andrew was trade envoy, why would he give sensitive information to Epstein? When Mandelson was in the government, why would he give sensitive information to Epstein? It's almost as if, Danielle, Epstein might have been, I don't know, a spy, and or I
Really?
don't know, working with foreign governments, and I don't know, using information to curry favor. In a country that America refuses. If you've noticed, there's a joke. America said, Russia, Russia, Russia. Yeah, there's another country, Israel, that US media does not mention, like his extensive ties to Israel and Russia. And it
We're going
seems
to
like
talk about it, and talk about the cameras that were set up in his Manhattan townhome, which I talked about yesterday on the Danielle Moody show, that he was totally okay with, and they were using, because guess who uses blackmail as a form of policy? And it isn't just Russia. It is Israel. And that
compromise.
is exactly what they were doing with Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan home. The thing that I want to say, because a lot of folks have been upset, Waj, at the fact that uh, Andrew is being investigated over misconduct in public office, as opposed to rape, as opposed to pedophilia. I do not know what the what is it called, what the limits are on that, the years. I have no idea.
Statute of
The
limitations.
statute, yeah, I have no idea what the statute of limitations are. So maybe we will look that up at some point. But what I do want to say is that if not for Virginia Giuffre,
That's
if
right.
not for her and her bravery, and I'm going to play this clip of her, this would never come to light.
Nope.
The question that I have, and you alluded to it, Waj, when you were giving the breakdown, the question that I have is that the royal family which is now documented, paid over 14 million pounds to try and silence Virginia Giuffre. They had some pounds from Queen Elizabeth and the prince, and then at the same time, before Charles became king and she passed, he also chipped in, right,
Yep.
to get Virginia Giuffre to shut up. So I'm wondering, again, I don't know UK law, but I'm wondering aloud, are they not accomplices then? If you are using your resources, which really is the resources of the state, because where else do they get their money? They
Yep.
get their money from the taxes of the people. So they essentially, again, I'm not a lawyer, but these are the things that I am questioning out loud, that if you use taxpayer dollars to try and pay off and silence this woman and also destroy her life to the point where allegedly she took her own life, are you not an accomplice to this crime? I want you to take a listen to Virginia in her own words. Let me see, because sometimes this wants to play, other times it doesn't. Hold, please.
Queen Elizabeth, I think
Yes.
when all
He is the most hideous dancer I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was horrible, and this guy was sweating all over me. Like, his sweat was like, it was raining basically everywhere, and I was just like, what? Grossed out from it. But I knew I had to keep him happy because that's what Jeffrey and Ghislaine would expect from me. The people on the inside are going to keep coming up with these ridiculous excuses, like his arm was elongated, or the photo was doctored, or he came to New York to break up with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, come on. I'm calling BS on this because that's what it is. He knows what happened. I know what happened. And there's only one of us telling the truth, and I know that's me. I implore the people in the UK to stand up beside me, to help me fight this fight, to not accept this as being okay. This is not some sordid sex story. This is a story of being trafficked.
Mm,
her brother quoted her yesterday,
mm.
and when her brother was interviewed, he said, "I know what Andrew did. He knows what Andrew did, and there's only one of us telling the truth." So he quoted Virginia yesterday, and they gaslit her, they defamed her, they called her a liar. They spent years and immense amount of money to go after her, and at the end of the day, she was telling the truth. And it wasn't. And Andrew's not the only man that she's mentioned. In her book, she mentions a foreign prime minister. She's talking about Ehud Barak, and she also mentions billionaires. She's talking about Glenn Dubin. Folks, these people are still around. These people are still operating, as business as usual. It's one of those situations where only now in the year 2026, Daniel. I mean, just to
Mhm,
infuriate people, I just want to
mhm,
remind them: the first time that anybody risk their security, their face, their name, their privilege to call out Epstein, it was the Farmer sisters. That year was 1996. She went to the FBI. The FBI has known since 1996 that this man is a pedophile. The year is 2026, Daniel.
I mean, it's look, I did an interview last week, and it's up now at Al Jazeera with the listening post. And I said this in a clip that is up now on my Instagram, that everyone has tried to pin this syndicate on one
Mm,
man that is conveniently dead, and Ghislaine Maxwell, who is conveniently now in a minimum security prison. The fact is, this is not over. It did not die with Jeffrey Epstein. It did not end with the arrest of Ghislaine Maxwell. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry for men with insatiable appetites for depravity,
there
and
you
it
go.
did not go away. They found a new operator, a new means, And that is why this investigation is so important. That's why it is important that France has opened up their own investigations, and Switzerland and the UK now, because this is continuing, right? All of these people that have been named, it did not end. And I'm like, and it is convenient, I think. It was a mode of convenience to say, oh, well, this was just, Jeffrey, what did Kash Patel say? Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking girls to himself.
Yep.
And I guess he was sending himself billions of dollars too.
Yep.
Like that's the level of gaslighting that we're supposed to just accept here in the United States, is that, well, it's always one bad white man, right? Whether it's a fucking shooter, right? Or a pedophile, it's just one guy. It's not an indictment on an entire system, and it's not lifting of the veil. It's always just the one bad, rotten person, so that we can all just take a deep breath and move on with our lives. And what I'm saying is, we all need to refuse to move on, because it is absolutely obscene. And when Donald Trump was asked yesterday about Andrew's arrest, this motherfucker had the audacity to say, I think it's a shame. I think it's very sad. I think it's so bad for the royal family. It's very, very sad. To me, it's a very sad thing.
What does that mean?
It's a very sad thing that it's not you yet. And then this was the question.
I kept asking, it's sad for who? Like, I don't understand. Like, that was my tweet. Like, what? Sad for Virginia that she's dead, the person that you described as property that was stolen from you by Epstein. Sad for all the women that you don't seem to care about. Sad for the victims who are demanding an investigation that your henchwoman Pam Bondi refused to do because they'll implicate you. Or do you feel sad for Prince Andrew that he got caught?
All great follow-up questions, none of which you will ever hear, because you get questions like this from the fucking idiot over at Fox.
About something big overseas today. The former Prince Andrew arrested by the police there, related to something with Jeffrey Epstein. Do you think people in this country at some point, associates of Jeffrey Epstein, will wind up in handcuffs too?
Well, I'm the expert in a way because I've been totally exonerated. That's very nice. I can actually speak about it very nicely. I think it's a shame. I think it's very sad. I think it's so bad for the royal family. It's a very, very sad. To me, it's a very sad thing. When I see that, it's a very sad thing to see it, and to see what's going on with his brother, who's obviously coming to our country very soon, and he's a fantastic man, the king. So I think it's a very sad thing. It's really interesting because nobody used to speak about Epstein when he was alive, but now they speak. But I'm the one that can talk about it because I've been totally exonerated. I did nothing. In fact, the opposite. He was against me. He was fighting me in the election, which I just found out through the last 3 million pages of documents.
Bro, no one was asking about you, bro.
Not one person. Not one person. And also, you are not totally and completely exonerated.
Nope.
You are totally embroiled in a cover-up, but you are absolutely in no way, shape, or form exonerated, nor was dummy over there, Ducey, asking specifically about you. He was asking about other people. But once again, Donald Trump can't help but make any question about other people and other things about himself.
Yeah, it's just all projection. Furthermore, he is, like you said, he's not exonerated. We know for a fact from what we've seen that within the files, the FBI talked to a survivor, an alleged survivor, 4 times, mentioned her allegation in a slideshow. Oh, there you go.
Like here, I mean, because here is what was put out 4 times, not once, not twice, 4 times. This victim was spoken to about Donald Trump. And lo and behold, it's gone. It's scrubbed from the record of the interviews with them accusing Trump. So this is what is said. And then Waj, I'll let you pick it up. The Department of Justice spoke 4 separate times to a woman who credibly accused Donald Trump of having sex with a minor he met through Jeffrey Epstein. But most accusations against the president appear to have been removed from the government's documents on the alleged sex trafficker. A 21-page slideshow buried in the massive trove of Epstein-related documents included allegations that sometime between 1983 and 1985, Trump forced, and I don't know why they wrote woman, because it is alleged that she's between 13 and 15 at the time, to give him oral sex when she was in her early teens. When the woman, bit down on Trump's exposed penis, he allegedly punched her in the head and kicked her out. That same woman told the DOJ that Epstein had introduced her to Trump in 1984. So, just out of curiosity, where in this does it say that Donald Trump is exonerated? And by the way, this was reported by independent journalist Roger Sullenberger on his Substack, where he typed in the file number that these interviews were supposed to be under, only to get a page not found. And then had to do research in back archives where the actual records are. The records are still alive and exist, not on the DOJ's site, though.
I talked to Roger about 2 days ago. I strongly recommend people go back and check it out, where he's like, I think this is like the biggest news. It's about 2 or 3 days ago, just this week, on the Left Hook. And folks, it is an allegation. It's an accusation. Like you mentioned, the FBI last summer included it in a 21-page slideshow, right? Is that proof of guilt? No, but it shows that the FBI took it pretty seriously, included it in the DOJ's presentation. It literally implicates Donald Trump. And guess what? Even though this is not an admission of guilt, in 2021, the Epstein estate settled with that same woman.
Yep.
Now, settlement is not an admission of guilt, but it is interesting that they settled with her, which then only increases her credibility. So maybe, Danielle, I don't know, that the fact that the DOJ found out about this from its own agents in 2025, maybe they should follow up and do an investigation. But instead, it's time to move on. Instead, Pam Bondi lied and said, we've released everything. No, you haven't. There's millions of files that we haven't seen. And furthermore, what we know from last year is the FBI there was a unit in the FBI that was instructed to stay in a room for 24 to 48 hours and go through the Epstein files, and they had one job. Danielle, can you remind them what their one job was?
Redact any mention of Donald Trump. It's a pretty heavy lift, being as how he is in there tens of thousands of times.
Oh, according to Raskin,
millions of times. And according to Representative Ted Lieu, which I played his clip that has since gone viral, where he credibly says, I've seen the unredacted files. Donald Trump is mentioned in accordance with 13-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds. There are allegations of rape and possible murder.
Yep.
Raskin said the same exact thing. But Waj, I'm just curious. Have you seen this nonstop coverage on A1 and in all of the papers? Because when I looked up Representative Ted Lieu's press conference that he gave, do you know where I found it? I only found it on Yahoo, and the title that Yahoo gave it was Representative Lieu makes wild claims about Donald Trump.
I have okay. As you all know, we try our best not to get conspiratorial. We go with the facts. And then once we speculate, we tell you when we're speculating. I'm speculating.
Mm-hmm.
The Sulzbergers have some one degree of tie with the Epstein class. The Sulzberger family being the owners of the New York Times. Because I don't understand why the New York Times has dragged the stuff. Even when, what was it, 2 weeks ago with the Epstein files, it was on the top fold of the page. And only now, grudgingly, after all these years, now they're doing, this is how Epstein made his money, which was a really great piece, but it was done like last month, 2 months ago. This is how Leon Black dealt with Epstein. Wonderful, but it's kind of strange that it's happening in, I don't know, the end of 2025. This is Trump and Epstein and their connections. So They kind of throw this stuff out there now, but I'm very curious why this is not the, I don't know, leading story for the New York Times and the Washington Post. Maybe, this is again me speculating, if it is an Epstein class, if it is a 1 degree of separation, if it's a big club and we ain't in it, maybe, just maybe, this big club in some way, shape, or form implicates not necessarily even these individuals, but they're really close friends.
Maybe. And maybe with the opening of these investigations in foreign countries, maybe, oh, maybe it'll also start to expose the gaslighting and the non-coverage that Representative Louie called out and said maybe the press should do some investigating into the fact that it is alleged that Donald Trump raped 13, 14, 15-year-old girls. Maybe that's worth, some ink and some time.
Danielle, AOC, who's not the president, made the mistake and said that Venezuela is below the equator. We need massive articles and headlines on that, and the fact that she paused and stumbled on a random question about Taiwan and China. That's the news, Danielle.
Yeah, you're right. And it's definitely not this, which is Lex Wexner, who was questioned by the House Oversight Committee this week at his home in Ohio. And I have one clip to play, but here is what is written down here. Lex Wexner's deposition has been released. Here is a segment where he talks about how odd it was that Trump was at a fashion show. And this is the questioning that came from Representative Jasmine Crockett and Lex Wexner's response.
Did you ever spend time with Epstein and Donald Trump?
Together?
Yes.
I would answer this question accurately. I would go to some of the Victoria's Secret fashion shows because it's very important to the brand. At some of the fashion shows, Jeffrey was there and some Trump was there. And I remember because Trump would always introduce himself to me. And I always thought it was kind of odd that he was at the fashion show because he had nothing to do with fashion.
What also went viral, and I don't have this clip, is, and I'm like, is this a real lawyer that Lex Wexner had sitting next to him? Lex is asked a question again by a member of the Oversight Committee, and he begins to answer it. And his lawyer, caught on audibly on the microphone, says, if you answer another question with more than 5 words, I'm going to fucking kill you.
Good defense attorney.
And Lex giggles and is like, okay. And I just want folks to understand, like, the imagery here is really important because you're looking now at what seems like this frail, old, 88-year-old man.
Wasn't that frail?
And I really want you to understand that this guy in the 90s and early 2000s didn't look like that. Okay? He was toasting up with champagne and arm around Epstein and Ghislaine and doing the effing most. Okay? So now he's all hunched over, holding out his ear. I can't possibly hear you type of bullshit. Just want you to understand that the image that the image that you're seeing now is not what was. So don't fall for the, oh, poor grandpa here.
No, tell him this. Show him this.
Okay, so question. Did you yourself write this letter to Mr. Epstein for his birthday book? Wexner. Sadly, I did. What is the image here, Waj? Dear Jeffrey, I wanted to get you what you want. So here it is. What is that?
A pair of breasts.
Happy birthday.
Folks, there's a lot I want to say about Leslie Wexner. First and foremost, let's go, going back to that first clip. My take on him is this man is not frail. He was allegedly so frail. He's 88. He can't speak. What we've been saying for months, we've mentioned this name on Democracy-ish. We've mentioned this name on Left Hook, Leslie Wexner. He's a massive node because Epstein was flush with millions of dollars after he met Leslie Wexner. He had Leslie Wexner's power of attorney. The $70 million New York City townhouse where he raped girls, the prime jewel of New York real estate. You know who gave that to Jeffrey Epstein as a gift?
For
Leslie
free?
Wexner, as one does. And now Leslie Wexner says, I cut ties with him once I found out he was a pedophile. Can you go back to that drawing?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Interesting. Leslie Wexner, folks, is so powerful. His name is all over Ohio, right? This is what they do. They buy buildings. They go through philanthropy. Yeah, he's given money to the current senator of Ohio, the Republicans, right? He's worth an obscene amount of money. Also, allegations that Leslie Wexner raped girls, but also some allegations that the way Epstein was able to have some control over him is that Leslie Wexner was Epstein's lover. And that's what some people...
that you broke news for me.
No,
I did
FBI,
not know
yeah,
that.
the FBI interviewed Epstein's cellmate, and he goes down the list of all these men. Trump is there, Weinstein's there, Dubin's there. But yeah, that's some allegations that Wexner, that was the hold that Epstein had over him. No one has to this day explained why Leslie Wexner would give Epstein the power of attorney, why Leslie Wexner gave the townhouse to Epstein, why Leslie Wexner and Leon Black, by the way, gave hundreds of millions of dollars to Epstein. And furthermore, all these people who say, I had no idea. If you look at that drawing and you look at the 50th birthday book that Ghislaine Maxwell compiled for Epstein, in which Donald Trump also did what? A lewd drawing of a woman's body with type of a lewd he teenage boy message, our secrets. We've talked about the images that have been released. All these grown men shared these photos, drawings, cartoons of Epstein surrounded by girls on the Lolita Express, which that shows me they all knew what he was.
What the hell was going on.
And then I'm going to say one more thing. That thing that Leslie Wexner said about Trump, my take. That was a very, very interesting comment. My takeaway was this sharp as a tick 88-year-old man was sending a signal to the Trump administration. I know what you did, and you better have my back. Because what did he say? I found it odd that Trump, who's not into fashion, was there with Jeffrey. Why would Leslie Wexner say that, Danielle?
Oh, I don't know, unless he's looking for some protection as he lives out his disgusting life. I will also say this. He said, and it's documented, that he had no idea about Jeffrey Epstein's business and his pedophilia and all these things. Funny enough, one of the victims who, again, credibly accused Jeffrey Epstein, on her license, the address was to whose house? Wexner's house. You don't know anything about what Jeffrey Epstein is doing, but you allowed for your home address to be the home address that was used for one of his victims on her driver's license?
And who else mentioned Wexner? I just wanted to double check. That's where I was typing. Pardon me. Virginia Giuffre.
And so this is, and here is the clip. This is the clip with regard.
This is one of the former sisters.
One of the former sisters, and this is the clip where she talks about the driver's license. Take a listen.
Famously ignored your sister's complaint that she filed in 1996. What is your reaction to hearing that?
I was really horrified when I heard that. I mean, I think as you summarized well, the complaint really explained that she was threatened by the staff there. And number one, I don't believe something like that would happen and Wexner would not be alerted to it. So, just one more reason why I don't believe him. But then also to think that she would share that information with law enforcement and they would not follow up in any way with this person who not only funded Epstein for many years, obviously, but then also, was accused by other survivors. At that point, I think they also had access to Virginia Roberts Giuffre's deposition, where she, described him as an abuser. So to think that despite all of that, they are still not questioning someone so central to this operation, it just feels like the corruption goes so deep.
There you go.
I think you make a good point, because he talked about how long he's had security with him. He said there's probably 20 people who work on his staff at his property. And you're saying it's hard to believe that he wouldn't have been told if there was a young woman, a girl at your property, that something happened and you were not informed of that.
Yes. And I mean, Maria had a driver's license with the Wexner address. I mean, she had been living there at this point for months. So again, I think it just defies ability, for us to believe that would make sense, that he would never have known about her presence and certainly never have known when she was extremely upset, trying to report what happened to her, and then threatened by his staff.
Her driver's license had Les Wexner's estate's address on it?
Yes, this has been turned over and reported on previously.
I mean, that's just stunning, though, to listen to how he answered that question and to say, no clue, no idea, I can't know because I never met her, which obviously she had made clear, but the fact that she literally had a license with his address on it.
That there's a reason why, and furthermore, to make it even more upsetting, what did Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie say? That when they went into SCIF, in less than 2 hours, they found the names of 7 individuals that the DOJ had scrubbed. One of the names was Leslie Wexner. And then furthermore, in 2019, when the FBI arrested Jeffrey Epstein, folks, they had a list of 10 potential co-conspirators. We know the names of 3: Glenn Maxwell, Jean-Luc Brunel, who we'll talk about in a second, and Danielle, the third name, Leslie Wexner. And you all tell me why. Why, oh why, only yesterday was he finally deposed by Democrats?
I mean, it is... Look, I continue to say this. The fish rotten from the head up, body down. Like, the reason, I mean, it's the amount of information, the amount of credible information that was willingly dismissed, buried for decades. And people wonder, why don't women come forward? Why don't girls come forward? This woman had her fucking driver's license with this man's address. She is living captive at his property. And no one until now deposes him?
Virginia Giuffre had the goods. They drove her away from this country. She allegedly killed herself. Look at Leslie Wexner. Did that look like a man who was nervous that he would spend a single day in his life in jail?
Nope. And so, as Waj mentioned, Paris prosecutor's office has opened up an investigation, as was listed in the list of the names of co-conspirators, into materials tied to Jeffrey Epstein, announcing it will be renewing newly released files to determine whether any criminal wrongdoing can be pursued under French law. Because who are they looking at? Well, on May 3rd, 2016, Epstein sent an email to Kathy Rumler, who we told you about last week.
Goldman
who is
Sachs.
now leaving Goldman Sachs in the summer after her disgusting ties and emails were revealed that there was not a professional relationship between her and Jeffrey Epstein, that it was much more than that. But Epstein, an email to Kathy Rumler, he wrote that Jean-Luc Brunel was planning to go to prosecutors the following week, and one of Brunel's friends had asked for $3 million so Jean-Luc would not go in. And then what happened to Jean-Luc?
Well, this Wall Street Journal article that came out 2 days ago is a whopper. Jean-Luc Brunel is the Frenchman who allegedly sex trafficked with Epstein for nearly 4 decades through modeling agencies. As of this reporting, Jean-Luc Brunel was going to testify against Epstein, and at the last second disappeared. But guess what? He gets arrested, and he dies mysteriously via suicide.
Everybody dies of suicide. Everybody.
2022. And Jean-Luc Brunel is another big note, folks. He connects Epstein to the modeling agencies. He connects Epstein to a lot of girls. Some people say he was just as bad as Ghislaine.
And here is the partial list of 20 names of the co-conspirators: Jean-Luc Brunel, Leslie Wexner, Mark Epstein, Donald Trump, Jenny Saunders, David Copperfield, and then redacted. I mean, anyone find it curious that everyone mysteriously dies of suicide
or disappears,
never to be heard from again? Anyone find that worth investigating and looking into? Of course,
they got to him. He was right there. He was right there to testify against Epstein at the last second. According to the Wall Street Journal article, poof, vanished last second. 2016, who was running for president at that time? Just saying.
And then to wrap all of this up as we begin our closeout, again, no indictments brought on anyone that's been mentioned to have raped girls. Bill Gates, most notably, has been mentioned multiple times, but he gets to cancel his own appearances. He's not being really shunned, but he's just like, oh, I won't go to India to do this AI event because I don't want to distract, from anything that's going on. The fact, sir, that you're still able to even do events is problematic. But alas, this is where we are. And then, like we mentioned at the top, the Israeli government installed and maintained security system at Epstein's apartment. Security equipment and alarms were installed by the Israeli government at a notorious Manhattan residence frequented by former Prime Minister Ehud Barak of Israel. But of course, again, mainstream corporate media, who are they talking about? Russia.
But Danielle,
Russia creating honeypots to catch Americans. No one is talking about the Israelis, though.
But why? Isn't that fat? I mean, look, folks, this is egregious. If you look at the ties, it's Israel. Like Israel and Russia. Those are the two countries. And we have nothing against Russians, and we have nothing against Israelis and Jews, right? But that's the facts, the players, the money trail, the business deals. It's Israel and Russia. So we've talked about Russia. Why does corporate media not touch Israel? Why is Dropside doing this, Danielle?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, the double standards are just remarkable.
But I want to close out with this because I think it's extraordinary. In a week where you saw the South Korean president, former president, sentenced to life in prison for inciting an insurrection.
That was awesome.
A former prince, Andrew, arrested. You see multiple countries opening up their own investigations to see how deeply enthralled their own nationals were in the Epstein files. What does Donald Trump do to signal just how much power he has? Anyone think that it was a coincidence that yesterday of all days, the Department of Justice unfurls this fucking authoritarian dictator Nazi-esque banner of Donald Trump at the Justice Department's headquarters? Your reactions to this and the timing, Waj?
We used the word authoritarian, people laughed at us. We used the word fascist, people laughed at us. We compared it to Mussolini and Hitler, people laughed at us. They said you use the Nazi word, no one's going to take you seriously. And now they're literally quoting Nazis, promoting Nazi conspiracy theories, promoting Nazi talking points, praising Hitler. This is a man who will not leave peacefully. This is a man who will not leave legally. This is a man who has already done the dress rehearsal in the 2021 violent insurrection. This is a man who, with his back against the wall, he's negative double digits on immigration, negative double digits on the economy. A majority of Americans think he's lying about the Epstein files. A majority of Americans want a release of the Epstein files. Everyone else except him is falling, including a former prince. And he is telling you the DOJ belongs to me, because it does. Because the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, is his defense attorney. And the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, has a client of one, Donald Trump. And she is using her power as a defense attorney for Trump and a prosecutor against any and all of his critics, including journalists like Don Lemon.
I mean, I just, I gotta say, we are at an extraordinary fever pitch, I think, in this country and around the world as it pertains to the Epstein syndicate. How deep it goes, how far it goes, how many industries it covers, how many powerful people it touches. And I just think more unfurling is going to happen as more threads are pulled on by other nations. And it is going to stand in stark contrast to the fact that America chooses to do nothing. And like I played earlier this week on the Danielle Moody Show, the clip of the Chinese host on CNTV, Wang Guan, who read the United States for filth. And if I can, Waj, if you have 1 second.
Yeah.
Because if I can find it again.
Please.
It was, I mean, it was probably one of the most startling. Here it is. And I'll just play a part of it.
Please.
Oh, the Epstein files are out. Millions of pages, thousands of videos, an order from Congress. And what have we learned? Well, Democrats accuse the Attorney General of a cover-up. The Attorney General calls a senior congressman a washed-up loser lawyer. Victims sit in the room watching their accusers' names blacked out, while their own names, their photographs, their suffering are leaked to the public. Welcome to accountability, Western style. For years, the Western elites, the Western man, have stood on what they call the moral high ground. They lecture other countries on human rights, on fair courts, on the worth of every person. They send diplomats to lecture former colonies about the rule of law, as if that law were a custom-made suit only for a rich man. Now, let me be clear. This is not about one man. It is about what Julie K. Brown, the reporter who broke the story in the first place, said with painful honesty. Nearly every element of society allowed him to get away with them. Not one element, every element. Let's walk through the Museum of Western Hypocrisy. In 2007, federal prosecutors had 82 pages of documents to charge him. Victims as young as 14 years old. They had the evidence. What happened next was not a failure. It was a choice, a secret deal, negotiated in private, kept from the victim for nearly a year. When the government finally wrote to these victims, it told them the case was still under investigation. A federal judge caught this, and I quote, actively misleading them. Now, Alex Acosta, the prosecutor who signed the deal, sat for an interview with the Justice Department's internal investigators. His defense? He couldn't remember. Didn't recall the financial records, didn't recall the flight logs. Now, years later, his testimony to Congress was so full of, I don't remember, that word memory became his legal excuse. This is the system that lectures the world on fair and independent courts. But the courts were only the first domino. Let us talk about the gentleman, the European gentleman. I'm not just talking about the businesses and the finance circles who made up the bulk of the Epstein guest list, but in academia as well. Scholars who fill university offices. According to documents released this month and reported by Nature, Epstein kept a list of nearly 30 well-known scientists. He invested millions at Harvard. He gave $6.5 million to start the research program. He kept an office there. A virus expert at Stanford asked Epstein to pay for a study on college students' sexual behavior to test, and I quote, our horny virus idea. A physics professor facing investigation into his own misconduct received an email from Epstein telling him to say no comment to the press. This is not just selling influence. This is intellectuals bound down. Men who traded fame and respect traded it for a check from a convicted sex offender. And the banks? Deutsche Bank moved millions of dollars for Epstein. They flagged him as high risk. They kept him anyway. Wire transfers, cash withdrawals, payments to people accused of helping him. New York's financial regulator called it inexcusable. The bank paid $150 million to settle the case. And let me translate that. $150 million is not punishment. It is simply the price they pay to make the problem go away. And now we arrive at the truly interesting part. The Epstein files have become a political punching bag. The Trump camp makes it about the Clintons. The Democrats make it about the Republicans. The Attorney General accuses the Committee of drama, and the committee accuses the Attorney General of running a cover-up. Meanwhile, the law Congress passes clearly states that names cannot be blacked out just to avoid embarrassment, harm to reputation, or political discomfort. So, how did the Department of Justice manage to black out the powerful and expose the victims? So here's the uncomfortable truth the West does not want to face. The Epstein archive is not just one file on one criminal. It is a CT scan of the whole system, the courts, the banks, the politicians, even some academic institutions.
It is not an indictment of one man. It is a CT scan of the entire system.
China cooked with that one. China was like, we've been waiting. And China says, you accuse us of authoritarianism, rightfully so. Well, what are you doing? And that's exactly what Carney said. Remember, Carney said the same thing. The rule of law is just a fiction. And now we just see it plainly as what it is. And America's completely corrupt and hypocritical. And you have a wannabe God King in the form of Donald Trump, who unfurls his banner at the Department of Justice that was supposed to be independent. And we have institutions that are corrupt that I believe will slow walk this, Danielle, because it will, if they do the full investigation, I think compromise themselves, their funders, and their leaders. And then we have a Democratic Party, which, if you've been paying attention, folks, has just willingly submitted to the oligarchy and is taking hundreds of millions of dollars from pro-AI and pro-crypto folks. So even if these guys get power, do you think they're going to change the system that feeds them and hold them accountable? I know people think I'm a cynic. I follow the money. I trust the evidence of my eyes and ears.
Before we get out of here today, Waj, please, as always, shamelessly promote yourself.
You all will be very proud of me. I'm fasting. I'm tired. I haven't slept. And I usually do like nonstop back to back to back to back to back to back. And I actually did do that. But then my 2 o'clock canceled. And I was like, well, I got to get someone. And then I'm like, wait a second. Let me just, I don't know, take a nap or do some chores. So I have the man that you cheat on me with, Jared Gates Sexton. He's coming at 3:30, and I'll be my final one for today.
Okay. I give you a pass with Jared at 3:30 because the conversation is always good. I have to say, the three of us must do a show
together
at some point. because people always ask for it, and I think that it would be a really good time.
Yeah, we've never done one together, have we?
Never. The three of us have never done a show together, and I totally think that we
And
should.
also the Left Hook, folks, if you can, please subscribe. The hearts, likes. I know it sounds ridiculous. It goes a long way. Like the damn digest. We're all free. We all depend on the kindness of strangers. If you've enjoyed us, we have no paywalls. We just depend on our independent community. I have my 25% special on for the next 8 days. It's $3.75 a month forever. It's the lefthook.substack.com/special. But if you have no money, just subscribe. It's free.
And folks, as Waj says, completely independent. We are people powered. It is your super stickers and super thanks that allow us to do the work that we do. His Divine, thank you for $10. My friend Ghost, thank you for the 5. Tropical, thank you for the 2. Susan, our fabulous moderator, thank you for the 20. Cinnamindy, thank you for the Canadian $24.99.
Nice.
PJ, thank you for the $4.99. Sayabunga, thank you for the $20. Jen, thank you for becoming a member for 3 months. And Susan, a member to the channel for 3 months, another 5. Jimmy, thank you so much. Susan, again, so generous. And Claire with 25. We appreciate each and every single one of you. And if you do not have the resources to become either a paid member of my YouTube channel or at the Damn Digest or at the Left Hook, folks, please like, comment, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Make sure you are subscribed to the Left Hook and Waj's YouTube channel. It costs you absolutely nothing. Go watch Waj at 3:30 with my other political husband, Jared Yates Sexton, and Waj and I will be back on Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern, for another jam-packed episode of Democracy-ish. Who knows what fresh hell will be brought to me on Monday from Waj, but we'll all just wait.
It'll be there. It'll be there.
It'll be there.
Don't you worry, Danielle. I will deliver.
Thank you, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And please, oh, please, don't be a fascist.